Hi, it's good to be back with you. I'm still at Wisdom headquarters. This is day 2 of the Wisdom Academy, I guess, and I have the extreme pleasure of having with me Andrew DeCristofaro. And look, I'll get you to explain who you are, what you do, and why what you do is so important to us as the end consumers.
I think what you do is super important to us. So I am Andrew DeCristofaro, and I'm a Supervising Sound Editor for feature films. And what that means is it's hard to describe exactly what my job is, because it's, I don't think my parents still know what I do, and I've been doing it for over 25 years. So it's kind of like akin to the director of photography for sound.
Right.
He or she is responsible for the overall look and, feel and so forth. Same thing, the director comes to me and wants will give me direction as to what they want to feel emotionally and stuff like that in scenes. And that's my job, is to create those moods and tensions and, angst, whatever, with sound. Come up with new sound, the whole thing. So as the Supervising Sound Editor, anything you hear in the movie, I oversee every bit of it, every Foley, every dialogue thing we do, ADR, sound design, every single thing that goes into the movie. I don't handle the creation of music, but once the music gets to the dub stage, then I'm overseeing that as well with the talented mixers at hand, who are, everyone's bringing something to the table. But overall, it's my job to help craft the track for the director.
So you're sort of the audio production funnel. You bring
basically the funnel of it.
Yeah, that's cool. And what sort of work that you've done would some of our viewers recognize?
I did not realize how much I worked on a film called Unbroken, which,
right.
And I found out, through my travels here to Wisdom and getting involved with these speakers that opening scene was a great test bed. I always loved it and knew it was a great test bed, just never assumed that everybody else would be listening to it like we have. So tons of comedies, some films coming out that you must watch, like Spirited. You got to watch Spirited, it's so good.
I've seen the trailers for that. Looking forward to it.
Heard it's going to be fun. Yep. It's opening soon. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't even really look at my own resume.
No,
I have to go look back and think.
So, we're here at Wisdom, and our job is to try and reproduce the sound. One of the things that we've seen, especially since we built our Wisdom demonstration cinema, is that people have become a lot more emotional when we play content. The other thing I've noticed is that I'm playing stuff that I've watched before many, many times, but I'm hearing detail I never heard before. And before I met you, one of the things that I became really aware of was I sort of felt tragically sad a little bit for guys like yourself who slave over this content. And I'm realizing that people are watching it on iPhones and iPads and TVs, and they have no concept as to what they're missing.
Very much so. There's a few filmmakers that truly understand the power of sound, and, like a Lucas or someone say it's at least 50% of the movie-going experience, which is without a doubt the case. So even if it's a film where you go, okay, you think, okay, it's a big Marvel movie, it's got a lot of big sound, I need to see it in the theater. Okay. But even the quiet movies, you need to see it, and it's so immersive and rich, and it affects you. It's like a song, people have their songs, and it affects them emotionally. The track with the music, with all the effects, with everything, the backgrounds, all the things that are giving you subtle cues as to how, you're missing so much. And we always feel horrible that people aren't experiencing that.
Yeah.
And even, unfortunately, even in commercial cinemas, a lot of times the theaters turn down the levels because a lot of people complain maybe, the trailer was too loud, so they just turn it down. Then you play a nice quiet movie and it's like it's too low. But most people don't say go turn it up, because the theater just says, well, we turn it down till we stop getting complaints about being too loud, and he goes, honestly, we never turn them back up. So it's very frustrating for us, and knowing, like you said, that we do spend months. Spirited, I just spent at least 10 months working on, and I hope people watch it on more than, it will play on whatever device you're listening on, but it's never going to be as immersive and as impactful and powerful as it can be.
I think, there's a difference between seeing a movie, watching it, and experiencing it, And, I think it's kind of sad that, my realization has come that there's so much more in these movies. And when I think that everything in every single frame, audio and picture, is deliberate.
Right.
And that, as you said, I mean, Spirited is how long as a movie?
It's
roughly
two hours.
2 hours.
Yeah.
So 10 months of work into 2 hours.
Right.
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 So there's a lot of effort that's gone into it. And, I think it's just critically important, especially now that private home cinema has reached the level that it has. A few years ago, yes, we were kind of struggling to reproduce things as well as a cinema. Now I think we've leapt way past that. And, my experience has been, an emotional realization of the effort that people like you go to. So you're here at Wisdom. What sort of brought you here?
So I have been, hobbies for me with my dad back in the day were on weekends, we'd go to hi-fi shops, back when there used to be hi-fi shops, and we'd go and listen to different speakers, and we'd spend a year auditioning different speakers and so forth. And we'd buy some and, then have a different place where we put different speakers. So I've always been, I've just been immersed in that world. And, setting up, we're remodeling our home a few years ago, and my wife was already assuming, well, we're going to have a bunch of big boxes in our room, speakers, she called them boxes, because that's what I needed to get really good sound. And the guy, one of the people I was working with, one of the dealers, he had said, you should listen to these. You might want to listen to these Wisdom audio speakers. We just picked them up. He goes, but I don't have any in my shop. And so I emailed Wisdom and got hold of Ron. I didn't know Ron from anybody, a hole in the wall. And he, he got back to me. I flew up here and just listened to speakers, paid my way up here, flew up here just to audition speakers. And so I told Ron, I said, I want to listen to, a lot of music, and, because I like it all from classical rock classical rock, female vocal, you name it, dance, whatever. Yeah. And listen to that. And I said, I also want to listen to a couple of my movies, one of which was Unbroken, because at the time it was pretty near, I knew the track intimately well. And so I said, came up here, listened to music for a few hours, and was blown away. Like, oh, man, these things sound great. So I figured, all right, let's go listen to the movie, because typically to get a hi-fi sound like that, because you're talking about quick transient response and things like that, you hear in a hi-fi speaker, but not in a commercial speaker that's really meant to push a lot of air. And so they're two different beasts normally. So we come into the theater and crank up Unbroken, and I was just floored, because I was like, holy cow, these same speakers I was just listening to are slamming me like at theatrical levels. I mean, beautifully though. Not only theatrical levels, but more detailed, and, it's like a hi-fi version of the theatrical, because so they're able to deliver the quick transient response at high volume with no, you don't hear any compression, you don't hear any of the normal things you hear from a speaker. I mean, they just effortless. So immediately I was blown away. I said, okay, well, these are the speakers I need to get. So I had to save a lot of pennies to try and get these speakers, but it's so worth it.
And it's been worth it. So from your perspective, why is it important, or why would you sort of say to people, look, it's worth building a well-calibrated, well-designed, well-equipped, high-end home cinema,
For me, I mean, I'm obviously I'm biased.
Yeah.
But if you're going to watch something, I mean, I guess you can eat, you can eat two different meals. You can have a really well-made meal, or you can have one that's just, it's still
a sandwich.
Yeah, which I love a sandwich.
Yes.
But yeah, so, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, you're missing out so much. I mean, and why not, if you can, by all means, it's so much better, and the experience is so much better. And, life is ultimately about these moments of, experiences. It's, you go through your day, and, it's just those highlights of, oh, I got married, or I had a child, or got sick, or someone loved, or, movies kind of condense the world into, you capture those little moments and repackage them so you can re-experience them, you know, and it's really, and, you know, you think about how much of our communication in the world, like you hang out with friends, a lot of times you're quoting movies, or you say, hey, remember that time? Or, you know, there's such a big part of our culture and our life. And it seems like a total shame not to experience all that detail and richness. And, you know, like I said, it's half the experience. I tell people often, if you're watching a horror movie and you feel frightened, I go, just turn off the sound. You won't be afraid anymore. It's not scary, you know? And that's just how, it's an easy way to, you know, show the impact and power of sound.
I think the interesting thing is that this is an art. And, you know, the only way you're going to truly experience the art from the artist is to reproduce it accurately. And, you know, I've rolled out a phrase, I've used it too much recently, especially this week. My favorite definition is the dynamic range of human experience. And what I'm learning is that the work that these guys do is up here somewhere. And I only ever heard it to here, and now my experience is increasing. And that's allowing us to build better and better cinemas, use better and better equipment, do better and better calibration, so that we can unlock your 10 months worth of work.
Right.
And I just think that's really important. So if you are dedicated and committed and interested in the art of cinema, then, you know, if that's what you want to do, then you owe it to yourself to unlock everything that people like Andrew have put into this material. And it's been eye-opening for me, you know, just listening in our own cinema. So, yeah, is there any sort of final things that you want to say to people about, you know, listening to movies, or, you know, have you got any final thoughts?
I mean, you know, ultimately, we don't necessarily want you to, it's like a good visual effect. The really good ones, you don't even notice that they've been happening. People assume it's always like, oh, I put a robot in the scene. I'm like, yeah, and that's cool, and that's CGI and this, but really, you know, there's so much other stuff that's happening all the time. We don't really necessarily want you to listen to it as much as just experience it.
Yeah.
I traditionally ask the director to not watch the sausage being made and come back when I've got it in a place, you know, with the mixers and everybody have done their thing, and, you know, we present it to them and say, because I want them to experience like the audience for the first time and make sure that it's delivering the emotional impact or content or, you know, that they're after, because that's really what it's about. It's not about my sounds or the music. It's what's serving the picture, you know?
Yep.
So that's maybe the best, you know, I mean, I'm so passionate about this and love what I do that, you know, I hope others can experience what, like you said, I love the dynamic range of, you know, it's totally true. And I think once people realize they can have this in their home, you know, why they're going to try and get that. I mean, because that's what happened to me once I heard these speakers. I'm like, okay, I have to make this happen because, oh my gosh, I just can't. I can't share it enough with people. You know, it's so important.
Yeah. Well, listen, we've got people starting to roll in for the training. I really appreciate you sitting down and talking with me.
Of course, yeah.
And
been a pleasure.
look, thank you for your efforts, and thank you for bringing this art to us. And it's an absolute honor and a pleasure to sit here with you.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you,
Andrew.
Absolutely.
Have a great day.
All right, you
Talk
too.
to you soon.
All
Bye.
right, bye-bye.